I've been dying to wait to hear what Garry Cobb has had to say because Garry Cobb's been out there too, and he's been watching. And I'm going to say this before we bring Cobb in. I've been very encouraged. I've been very encouraged by, and hey, when I say this, Garry Cobb's probably going to laugh his ass off. They practiced today for an hour and 40 minutes. Gary's going to go, Sills. But I'm going to go in today's NFL, that's a lot. Okay? When he and I practiced, they were 3-hour practices. I posted down at Pepin Root Stadium when I was with the Buccaneers. We had 3 days down there with Ray Perkins, and we were doing 3-hour practices all 3 of those days for those 3 days. We had a month of that. Okay? Those days are gone. Let's bring in Garry Cobb from Fox 29. Them days are gone, huh, Garry? Man, when you're doing them 3-hour 3 days.
It's changed, yeah. Nobody does that anymore. And really, when you think back, it really probably is not the smartest thing to be just kind of burning yourself out. And then you go into the season, and this is what I experienced. You're going to see, you're going down. You know, you're worn down. And I believe in having a physical team where you're aggressive and everything. But you can't just beat each other up so much that you don't. And really, when I think back to during that time, there was one team that didn't do that, and that was the San Francisco 49ers. They did not do all of that where they're pounding each other. And, of course, they were the ones putting rings on their fingers. So, you know, you got to be smart about it. And I think you can be aggressive and you have a tough football team at the same time. Make sure your guys get rest and everything and are ready to play their best football.
Garry, what has been your takeaway so far in the first week? Today, obviously, the first day in pads, but what's been your immediate takeaway being around the team?
I was very impressed with how Jalen was getting the ball out of his hands. 1, 2, 3, that ball is coming out. He's reading what they're seeing, and he's making quick decisions. And I think that, you know, Kellen Moore is probably the one that's had that influence on him to tell him, look, get the ball out of your hands, get the ball into the hands of your playmakers, and you're going to be all right. And if we can get into a rhythm where we're getting the ball, you're getting the ball out of your hands, it's going to really put a lot of pressure on the defense, you know, because, you know, we're going to be staying out of 3rd and longs. You know, we're going to be in situations where it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2. And if we stay in those situations, you know, it's really going to put a lot of pressure on the opposing defense. And then we are going to decide when we're going to take our shots downfield, see. And, you know, they got a lot of weapons. I mean, offensively, they're just going to be a tough team to deal with. And we just saw a little bit today of them running the ball a little bit because they had the pads on. But, you know, you got that running game with Saquon Barkley, and you're getting the ball into the hands of all these other playmakers. It's really going to put a lot of pressure on all the defenses they face. And I think that's what Kellen Moore's doing. And the thing is, a lot of motion. They're doing different things with formations where they're really putting teams in tough situations. And, you know, they could be going to any of their weapons anytime. So it really looks like they're going to have an explosive offense that is going to be hard for you to deal with. So, of course, that's easy to say now, but you got to feel good about. I feel good about what I've seen so far out there at the training camp.
How about this, Garry? Try to explain from a linebacker's point of view what motion does when you're talking about, you know, what an offense is doing, and all of a sudden, you know, when you're in the middle of the field, it's something that the Eagles are doing a ton of. I mean, they're doing dual motion too. There's no question everyone has noticed it, and it's got to be a preset snap tool, I would think, to help Jalen understand how guys get open. But from your point of view, having played 10-plus years in the NFL, what does motion do for a defensive player and for a defense, and how you've got to counter that?
Well, when a guy goes in motion, okay, first of all, it lets the quarterback know whether you're in man-to-man or zone. Because if somebody's following the guy, you know they're in man-to-man. If everybody's staying put, then you know they're in zone. And usually it's very hard to disguise it. Sometimes, you know, teams will try to disguise it, but it's not a good, it's not a hard, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. And then the big thing is communication. And this is where it just burns me up last year that they ran so little, of emotion, because people make mistakes all the time. The defense, I thought you said, and everybody screaming and yelling. A lot of times the defense cannot hear exactly what is the other guy saying, or you're using signals, but there's always miscommunication where the guy said, oh, I thought you meant this. I thought you meant that. Well, I was thinking this or that. And you have guys coming wide open because people make mistakes. And this happens all the time. So when you go in motion, if there's a guy following them, even with the DBs, at times, they're going to snap the ball when he's right behind another receiver. So then they got to make a decision. Who is going to take who, and a lot of times one guy will end up naturally picking the other guy, and the other guy, one of the guys is wide open. This happens all the time because it's very difficult for the defensive backs who, if it's a wide receiver and they're following them, they've got to communicate on the spot, and you don't know where the guy's going to stop at. Where is he going to be at when they snap the ball? Nobody knows. So there's this indecision, and that equals mistakes. So you have that. And then at the same time, a lot of times what you have is if they're in man-to-man, it's very tough to cover. If they're in zone, a lot of times you're going to end up with two guys on one of the defenders. So that means the guy that's behind the receiver, one guy can go out and clear, and the other guy's going to be open. Because if he just runs downfield, and it's almost like a shield for guys. So it really is kind of a natural thing that
it's like
a lot
a
of times
built-in
it creates
pick play.
problems for the defense because
like
they got to communicate, but
it's
you
like a
don't know
built-in
where.
pick play.
What's that?
It's like a built-in pick play.
It's exactly what you said. It's a built-in pick play. That's what it is. And you don't know where's the guy going to stop at. He could be going to the other side where there are two receivers. Either one of those guys, he could be behind when they snap the ball. And also, it could be a run because that guy could be utilized as a blocker on a running play that way, or he could be utilized as a clear-out guy for a running back that ends up catching a short pass behind both of those two receivers. See, so there's a lot of things that can happen, but it creates a lot of problems for a defense. And especially if you have a defense that they're having trouble hearing and guys get nervous, they're not sure what each other are saying, and you have mistakes. I mean, look at the Eagles. Shame of it is, when they got to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs ran some plays with motion, and a couple of guys came open and walked into the end zone.
Guys were running into each other in the fourth quarter. They were running into one another on their crossing routes.
That's what happened is because of motion, those guys end up, really sabotaging themselves, and that's what ended up costing them that Super Bowl. And there were guys wide open because you have all kinds of mistakes when guys go in motion. A lot of times you're going to have mistakes, you're going to have miscommunications, and then you're going to have sometimes where the play is just great against a particular defense you're in. So I'm, I'd say, hey, if you don't do some motion, it's malpractice offensively, if you don't do some motion.
How about this, Gary? To the other side, Dallas Goedert was saying how, one of the things that you're noticing about the defense is multiple fronts and multiple looks and what Vic is doing there. So,
yeah,
they may line up in a 34, but 79% or 69% of the time, you may see nickel package back there too. So there's no question that Vic's moving people around, and it's very noticeable to the offensive guys. It's almost like you've got a completely different football team. You're using motion on offense, and you're using multiple fronts on the defensive side of the ball, which to me, in my opinion, it sounds like these two coordinators are using the personnel that they have on the roster to the best of the ability to put these guys in a position to win. I mean, it really sounds a complete upgrade from coaching from a year ago.
Well, I think it is, but, of course, you got to go out there and you got to execute it. And the big thing is, when you've got young players on defense, see, I do like the things Vic is doing, because he's really done a great job of teaching them to play. You're really playing man in the zone, okay? We don't just let guys get open for an 8-10 yard gain and don't compete for it. So what we're doing, though, is we are going to be playing zone, but we're playing really a matchup zone. There's a guy in your area, you get on him, okay? As he goes through your area, you pass him on to the other guy, and you end up picking somebody else up. But you got to talk. It's like, when you're playing basketball. You're playing man-to-man. Hey, pick, because, you got to communicate. There's a guy coming in your area, and you're really kind of playing a matchup zone. So that's what they were doing. And they were really working on that when they first got to camp back in the, earlier in the year. They were doing that. And you could see that the guys are learning. They're learning, because you don't just go out in the NFL and just drop and let people just catch the ball like they were doing last year, going like, but see, that takes teaching. You got to sit down, you got to teach players, and that's really quality coaching. And you can see that's what Vic Fangio is doing here, explaining to guys how they're going to be attacked. And you see after every play, he's talking to players. And of course, see, when you got young players, though, you sometimes you go in the huddle and you see that look in their eye where they don't know what in the world they're doing. You're going to have that sometimes. So you want to teach them, you want to work with them. It's not going to be overnight where everybody's going to get everything. So at times, and I heard him say this, which is when they start screwing up real bad, he's going to get very simple. Okay, because you can't have guys playing football if they're not sure, they can't play aggressively. So you got to be able to play aggressively. So if you're going to be where guys are not sure what they're doing, you simplify everything and you say, we're going to play hard football, tough football. And then we're going to try to put those, put the information in again and go back through it again. So I could see that's what they're doing now. They're working with the guys. I would say that at the practice today, the defense might have had the edge today, which hadn't been the case earlier, but they had a pretty good day today. The defense did, and they were slowing down the offense some, but it's going to be back and forth like that. So, but I like what they're doing, but it's a work. It's a work in progress, and they've got a lot of young players on defense. So they're going to have good games and bad games, chances are, as guys are learning the system and being able to play fast in the system where they're confident about what they're doing and they're not making a lot of mistakes.
Couple of more questions here for you, Gary. I love what they're doing with Quinyon Mitchell. He was asked a question today, and he didn't know that he was going to play in the slot until they told him. And they asked him at the press conference today, this morning, if he had ever played any in the slot at Toledo. He goes, no, I never played in the slot. And what they're doing is they're playing him at nickel, dime, slot, and also at the corner. And I think what that does, and tell me if you think I'm on track with this. I think Vic's giving him a crash course in technique, what he's looking at, how free safeties and strong safeties communicate with corners. You get a different look on the numbers with the half the hash when you're a corner versus if you're in the middle of the field. You get a chance to look at dime personnel. To me, I think he's trying to get him up to speed by looking at what technique, because free and strong are completely different, as corner one and corner two on the right side and left side of the field are. As you know, those are all different techniques. So do you think, is that how, because he's coaching him like he did Surtain. They did the same thing to Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Is that what they're doing with him? Is they're giving him a crash course?
Well, it seems that's what they're doing, because they're having him play everywhere, and so far he's been able to swallow it, because a lot of times, and, I don't want to insult anybody, but, guys have a certain amount of intelligence. You have some players that can handle more than other players, depending on the level of intelligence and how quickly they can decipher it and be able to play fast with all the different decisions that you have to make and everything. But it seems like, he has been tremendous. I mean, he has done a great job in that he's played corner. He's playing in there at the nickel spot. He's playing in there at the dime spot. You know, he's really kind of playing linebacker almost, and he's been able to do all that. And he's been solid throughout all of it. So you see that he's able to pick things up very quickly, and of course he's just a tremendous athlete. I mean, he was playing man to man on guys today, you know, and battling AJ. You know, him and AJ going at it a little bit out there.
Talking a little trash out there, I hear. I hear these guys bark at one another. I like it.
Yeah, it's great because, you know, AJ is a beast.
He is.
You know, I mean, come on. When you out there, you see somebody out there come out there at wide receiver, built like he is, as big as he is.
Oh, he's a modern-day Michael Irvin. He's a modern-day Michael Irvin, T.O.
That's right. That's what he is. You're right. He's the same kind of a player, and aggressive and strong. And even though he doesn't talk as much as Michael, though.
No.
But who does? Who could?
No one. No one here. Gary, finally here on this. So Grant Calcaterra today was talking about Kellen Moore's offense, and he called it a progression offense. And I took the takeaway for me was, and he said this too, Grant goes, well, when you have a progression offense, that means everyone's an option. Compared to a year ago where you were just throwing the two dudes and potentially a tight end, you're talking about wide receiver 3. You know, they were talking the other day about AJ being in the slot, Devontae being in the slot, wide receiver 3 maybe being a Y and Z if they have to, if they're moving guys around. It just seems that there is a massive effort by this offensive coach to make sure that they're implementing every single asset they have on this team to the best of their ability. And that includes Saquon Barkley. You know, I don't see RPOs. You know what I do see? Read option. Now, that's a form of RPO.
That's
so
right.
When you see the read option in there, that to me, they're trying to find right run plays for Jalen to run. But if they're going to do RPO, I mean, if they're going to do read option, that's pseudo RPO, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. And yeah, they're going to run some of that. It looks like the RPO. You know, to me, it looks much like what Jalen was doing, you know, last few years, you know, especially in the Super Bowl year. So I think they're going to do that, and they're going to really put a lot of pressure on a defense, because at times when they go in motion and they force you into a situation where you don't have enough people to play the position, meaning like to play this play. Either somebody's going to take Jalen to where they're not going to let him run, or somebody's got to catch Saquon Barkley getting the ball, you know, tossed to him by Jalen on that RPO. So I think that they seem like they're just going to get everybody involved. They're going to get guys, get the ball in the hands of all these players on the run. They want to get it to them, and they're going to really put a lot of pressure on defenses, but they're going to see every player getting in and having a part in the offense. You can see they really spread the ball around, and they'd like to get the ball into the hand of guys while they're on the run, meaning like getting it to them quickly. And I see they're letting Jalen, where he's getting that ball out of his hands and getting it to the hands of the playmakers. And so it's going to be exciting. I think that, you know, they're still learning and everything. It's going to be a process, but I'm really excited about what I see out there at camp.
One last one, Gary. I brought this up, and you tell me if there's a need for this. You know, Justin Simmons is out there. You know, Quinyon Mitchell, Justin Simmons, maybe Reed Blankenship, or you have whatever your combination is at safety and slot. Then you have Slay on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he played for Vic. You know, I mean, is that a move? From what I understand, they've been in contact, but Simmons is looking for the bag of money and also opportunity. So you're going to compromise both. Would that be a move, or would you still want to go with the younger guys?
Well, you know, if they're able to get him, come on. You got to do that. I mean, if they're able to do it, and I don't put anything past, you know, Howie. Howie is able to work magic, you know, with the salary cap. So if they can do that, because you come in with a guy that's experienced right away, he's going to be helping everybody else learn the system. You know, especially if you got a safety who's been through the system before, because he knows what everybody else is doing. And so your timing ends up getting better. And the guys are going to end up playing it better, quicker, because you got a guy that knows what it takes to have the system work. So if they were ever able to bring him in, I would be enthusiastic about that, because he's an outstanding player. But the thing is, though, you're bringing in the smarts, because he's been a safety in the system, and the safety has got to know where everybody's at. See, if he just played corner, that's different. Safety's got to know what everybody else is doing, because a lot of times he's got to make adjustments depending on what everybody else is doing, and he's got to know where guys are going to be at. So if he were to come in, it would be another shot in the arm if they were able to do that. I wouldn't put it past Howie if he gets the chance, but we'll see. I don't know how probable that is, but it's just something that if they were able to make happen, when you bring in a player of that quality, you'll be all over that.
In the last 3 years, he's the number one interception leader in the NFL, and he was second team All-Pro last year in Denver, and obviously played for Vic in Denver when he was running that system there too. Yep. So again, that has to be something that they would contemplate. Gary, I'll tell you what, man, a really good week for the Eagles in front of the microphone. The players talking. It seems they put 23 behind them. Yep. It's a new direction. You're seeing a lot of coaching. You're seeing a lot of hard work compared to a year ago. So pretty encouraging in the first week. Don't forget to catch Garry Cobb, Fox 29, covers the Eagles for Fox 29, former Eagle himself. Gary, thanks a lot, my friend.
All right, mate. Have a good one.
You got it. That is Garry Cobb, who was out there covering the Eagles for Fox 29. Good stuff, man. All right, Xander, where are we in the like list now? Dude, are we going to be able to make a run at 300? I like that. One of my favorite movies of all time, too, by the way. 300. Are we going to make a run for 300? 227 we are at right now. Very good. We got about an hour and 15 minutes left. So, guys, let's see if we can make a run at 300. One of the greatest movies of all time with Leonidas. Okay? This is Philly! Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.